Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. So this video is not going to be for everyone, obviously, right? As we're all at our own different conscious levels, right? If you're not quite there yet, just keep an open mind for this particular video, okay? It's not going to be for everyone, like I said, right? We all have our own time when we're ready for certain information, right? And if we're not ready, it's going to come out as something completely insane and out of this world, basically, okay? So this video is not for everyone, right? Anyway, so guys, today I'm going to be talking about the demonic possession, right? And in particular, the demonic possession that happens with narcissists and psychopaths, okay? So the title of this video, right, is that narcissists and psychopaths are spiritually used, right, and physically abused. Okay, and hear me out, okay? So, of course, hurt people, right? So, narcissists, they're not only physically abuse others, right, and emotionally abuse others, but they also physically abuse themselves, okay? And what tends to happen, right, is this is how it all starts out, right? Basically, the individual in question gets very traumatized, right? Usually in their childhood, right? So they get extremely traumatized, and usually the possession can happen either when they're a child, right? Or it happens later in life, okay? So I will give you an example of this, okay? So my mother, right? And I'm going to tell, I think, a longer story, what happened with my mom, right? But my mom, she was very, very traumatized during her childhood, okay? From what I know, even she was hit in the head and things like that, right? And she told me a lot of very, very, very sad stories, basically, right? She was picked on as a child also by a lot of kids, right? And basically, she was probably a very sensitive soul, right? And she just wasn't able to handle this kind of abuse, right? So she got highly damaged. She got traumatized, right? And perhaps her trauma was beyond repair, right? So usually when this happens, right, the individual is going to put up all kinds of defense mechanisms, right? And they're going to basically start living from their ego entirely, right? They're going to disconnect from their emotions, right? So they're unable to feel the pain that comes from living in your ego, right? And so this is exactly what happened, right? My mom just decided to literally change everything about herself, right? And she became this new person. She reinvented herself, right? And made herself out to be someone completely different, right? And so eventually she went on, because she was no longer able to feel, she went on to this self-destructing sinning spree, basically, okay? So she fell into sin, right? She just started doing a lot of I would say bad things, right? Things like having a lot of men, right? And just using people, and lying, and just everything, any sin that you can think of, basically, right? So when this happens, right, I believe at first, right, I don't think that possessions, from what I've learned about this, right, from various priests, right, I watched a lot of videos of various priests that talked about possessions, right, and possessions do not happen so easily, right? I don't think that every individual that's traumatized is necessarily going to be possessed, right? So possessions are actually very rare, right? That's what the priests say. At least I don't personally know, right? But I do think that they do happen, and I think they happen when at first the individual gets repressed, right? Which means that a demon perhaps follows them, right? They whisper thoughts into their head. And because the individual in question is no longer in touch with their emotions, and because they're living strictly from their minds, right? They're just following their rationale, right? So they become kind of like AI, right? They become like controllable AI, right? And so whatever they're told in their heads, they believe, right? So everything becomes like they accept these thoughts as facts, right? So eventually, because of those thoughts, right, that are not coming from the individual, right, from their real self, but they're coming from the demons, right, that whisper things into their minds, right? They accept those minds, and they eventually begin to physically self-destruct, okay? So this also happened to me to an extent. I was also demonically repressed. I don't think I was ever possessed, but I was repressed, okay? So that's why, guys, it's so important to actually like to learn how to, if you are demonically repressed, right, which means that you're not able to distinguish your own thoughts from outside, external source thoughts, right? External sources thoughts, right? Then you're going to basically believe all of the thoughts that come in, right? And you're gonna accept them as your own, right? And this is when problems will start to happen, right? You're not going to you're not gonna do certain things, right? You're not gonna believe in yourself. You're gonna you're going to spiral into depression, right? So all of these things, right, they might eventually kill you too. So this is very dangerous, right? So that's why you have to be careful with your thoughts, okay, and what you believe in, okay. And of course, in psychology, they, a lot of psychologists, they talk about this, right? So your thoughts sometimes are not your own, right? That's why it's important to distinguish, is this really coming from me, right? Why am I thinking this, So don't accept all of your thoughts, or all of the thoughts that you get into your head, right? Or hear in your head as your own personal thoughts. Sometimes they're not. I know it sounds, insane, but sometimes they're really not. It could be demonic oppression, right? So individual that's falling into sin, right? Individual that's believing all of the thoughts, right? They're more likely to damage themselves. And what do I mean by damage themselves, right? They might start, for example, they say, psychologists, I know, they say that anorexia, right, it cannot be cured, right? And it's a mind disorder. Yeah, it is a mind disorder, right, in a way. And from what I say, from what I know, because I've had this disorder, right, it was mostly my thoughts, like I said, because a lot of individuals are, spiritually speaking, they're demonically oppressed, right? They accept these negative thoughts that are coming from different entities as their own thoughts, okay? So perhaps, when I had anorexia, I was constantly hearing, like, you need to lose more weight, right? You're going to get more work if you lose more weight, right? You're going to, you need to lose more weight because you're going to, you're going to get a lot more modeling work, right? And so on. Anyways, I just said that. But it's things like that, right? You're not skinny enough, right? So that's exactly what I did. I listened to those thoughts, right? Or I was also hearing things like that, like, you need to exercise more, more, right? So all of these thoughts, they're extremely negative in nature, right? And they're really like against me, right? Completely against me. Sorry. So Anyway, so that's exactly what I did. I just listened to them instead of questioning them, right? In most cases, guys, what we need to do is we always need to question our thoughts, right? And we should never accept all of them. Some of them, okay, yeah, but most negative thoughts we shouldn't accept, and we should challenge them, right? We should challenge them and ask, is this really true? Like, am I no good, right? Am I not skinny enough, or something like that, right? Right, when it comes to your body, am I not good enough? Am I bad, right? Or something like this. Whatever your negative thoughts are, always question them, right? And neutralize them for the most part. Either neutralize them or think of scenarios from the past that challenge and and even disprove your thoughts, your negative thoughts, right? And just turn them into positive ones, right? So really, guys, a demonic oppression, right? Not possession. Well, actually, also possession, right? It's also a battle of your mind, right? It's a battle, like almost like with yourself, in your own head, right? So it's a mind battle, right? It's important to also pay attention to that, right? So when it comes to the mind battle, right, and how a narcissistic individual tends to self-destruct, is that they basically they're going to do everything, right? The demon in them, once the possession happens, right? And usually later on, right, when they've been oppressed for way too long, right, and the demon managed to get in, right, to get access, basically, and so this can happen, I guess, after a while. I don't think it happens right away, but I believe at first there's oppression, demonic oppression, and then eventually there's when the individual is far outgone, right, when they've fallen completely into sin, right, that's when the possession happens, okay? And guys, I'm speaking from experience, okay, about this, guys. I had my own mom. I was still in high school, right? And this was a very scary experience. Me and my mom went to, I remember the exact moment when it happened, okay? My mom and we went to a sauna, right? And this is like it's a typical Russian thing to do. My mom loved saunas, right? So did I. And we used to go like to this private sauna all the time, right? So we went to a sauna, and my mom she dropped on the floor, and she started shaking. And I couldn't understand what's happening, right? You guys also have to remember at the time I was in many ways brainwashed by her, by society, by our schooling system. I was taking psychology at the time, ironically too, right? And I just honestly, I just put a label on my mom. I was like, okay, she's crazy. She must have some kind of disorder. She might be, I don't know, she might have multiple personality disorder. She might be schizophrenic or something, right? So at the time I was studying psychology in school, and I just kind of put a label on her, right? And you guys, humans are not supposed to be labeled, right? When we label things, right, like he's Bulgarian, right? She's Russian or something. We take the whole human, the dynamic individual, the vast individual, right? We human beings are so unique, so vast, right? We're so complex. So putting a label on things is limiting everything altogether, right? And so that's exactly what I did, right? I limited my mom's experience, right, and what she was going through, and I was like, okay, she's crazy, basically, right? And when this happened, I was like, what's going on? Why, what happened to my mom? Is she seeking attention or something, right? I don't know. I just I had these thoughts for some reason, right? I was like, oh, she's seeking attention, right? So I didn't really take that experience too seriously, because she finally got up, and I kind of helped her up, right? And we went home, right? And it's that day, on that day, when she locked herself in the room and she started screaming. Her screams seemed like not human, basically, okay? They did seem demonic, like, right? And that was really scary for me. I was like, I don't remember too much from that experience, guys, because I think I maybe blocked a lot of it out, okay? Maybe it was too much for me to bear. Obviously, it was very scary. I don't think my brother was at home at the time. I think he already left home, right? And I didn't like my mom very much, right? As you can imagine, because she was very hostile, very emotionally abusive, even physically abusive, right? And so I didn't really feel too much compassion towards her at that time already, right? So I just thought that she was just seeking attention, and she, like always, right? And I just kind of like, I don't know, I wasn't, I guess, as sensitive to her experience as I should have been, right? Because she abused me and my brother for so long, and she was such a hostile and vicious person, right? And so when this happened, after a while, she just started going, I don't know what happened later on. I believe when she was in her room, she was just screaming, cursing, right? And things like that. And she just locked herself in her room. I wasn't able to get in, right? And I believe she didn't come out for a couple of days, right? I don't remember what happened after she did come out, right? I don't remember. But I just remember, being kind of like a little bit scared and shocked, right? And after the experience, right, she spoke to me about this like later on, right? And she said that she saw a lot of spider webs on the in the mirrors, right? And spiders, just going down and like and things like that. That's all that I really remember, right? And she started going to church every single day. Every single day she went to church. She started taking me to church too. She used to like force me to go to church every single day, right? So you guys, at the time, the demons in me did not want to go to church, right? Not in me, but the fact that I also was oppressed, right? I was traumatized too, right? And I was demonically oppressed too, right? So when I went to church, I didn't feel comfortable there. I wanted to rebel, right? They say a lot of teenagers are rebelling, right? Against everything that is good. Ask yourself why that is. Why is it against everything that is good? Because a lot of them were traumatized. A lot of them were hurt by their parents, who were also hurt, right? And so they become self-destructive, right? Because they're demonically also possessed, okay? And so the demon that's next to them is always whispering something in their heads, right? And they believe it, they accept it as their thoughts, right? And also, ask yourself, why is it that we do the things that, when we're demonically oppressed, why do we do the things that are bad for us? It's always the things that are bad for us, right? But also, of course, we use the things that are bad for us as a form of self-medication, okay? So we try to self-medicate, right? We try to help ourselves, right? By doing the things that are kind of wrong and damaging, bad for us, right? So it's whether it's seeking, I don't know, whether it's having sexual relations with the wrong people, right? Seeking this connection when you're trying to connect, right? And you can't, and you're just seeking like, you want love, you want connection, but you think that, I don't know, sleeping around will get you that connection. Of course, it will get you temporarily connection, but that's it, right? It's a huge deception, right? Same thing with drugs, right? Drugs, we try to self-medicate by taking drugs, right? So you took drugs and they gave you momentarily pleasure, right? But then they didn't lead to anything good, right? The devil has a counterfeit for everything, right? And so what is possible through drugs, for example, is actually possible in real life without drugs, okay? But you can have this experience when you've been able to spiritually awaken, okay? This is kind of like the state that a lot of us experience too, okay? Not all the time, but for the most part, okay? But of course the devil created the counterfeit for everything, right? And drugs are exactly that, okay? Anyways, but back to spiritual oppression, right? So like I said, right, because the individual who was oppressed or who is wounded, they're going to now try to seek they're going to basically seek for connection and love in all the wrong places, okay? And they're going to try to heal themselves, right? But they're gonna go about it in all the wrong ways, okay? They're gonna start taking drugs. They're going to start having a lot of sex. They're going to try to they're gonna miss out on opportunities. They're not gonna take them, out of fear, right? They're going to, basically they're going to self-destruct, okay? Physically, they're going to harm themselves, right? They're probably going to over-exercise, undereat, right? Yes, so part of what makes them this way also is the fact that they're completely disconnected from their emotions, right? Which in turn makes them more controllable, okay? And because they're more susceptible now, right? They're more controllable. They're going to do these things, all of these things that the demonic side wants unconsciously, okay? And so guys, and while you're on your way to self-destruction, I believe somewhere along the lines you might even get possessed, okay? So possession might happen, and then this can lead to a complete, basically this can lead to physically dying, okay? So guys, in the beginning of this year, my mother died, right? Right after New Year's, right? On the 1st, I think, or something like that. And we didn't have a relationship any longer, really, right? So I stopped, because she's a psychopath, right? We stopped speaking a long time ago, right? And I told her whatever I wanted to tell her, right? I was able to express myself to her, and I told her how much she hurt me, right? And so on, right? So that's when I parted ways with her, right? And that's when, like, the last time that we spoke was almost like our last time, So when I heard about her death, I was really surprised. And, guys, the way that she died was really, really strange. She was still fairly young, I would say, right? And she went to the mountains, right? She decided to go from Florida and drive to Mount Shasta, right? And she basically she ended up crashing her car on her way there, and then she decided to take the bus or the train to get to that mountain still, right? And so she got there, and she went to the mountains and she froze. Basically, she got extremely cold and she had to be rescued, and then she ended up dying, in the hospital, because she froze, basically, from a hypothermia, I think, or I think that's that's being too cold, right? From being too cold. Anyway, so yeah, guys, I do absolutely know for a fact that she was possessed, guys, and that the demon drove her to her death, okay? She died. Some of the things that I noticed, right, is that she she had, like, the last time that I was at her house, right? I was already spiritually awakened, right? So I was seeing things from a completely different perspective with new eyes, right? And I saw an altar, a devil worshipping altar, in the middle of her house, literally, guys, okay? I was like, what? Like, I asked her about it. I was like, what is this? You know? And I don't know what she said, right? But I don't think she was even, as a person or half the person that she already was, I don't think she was even conscious of what she was doing and what that even was, right? She also, I discovered a little bit later on that, you know, and I was led to my old room, right? And I discovered two dolls under the bed, okay? One of the dolls looked like me. She had like my nickname on it. She had some kind of oil on the bottom of her feet, and I was just completely freaked out about that. At some point, my mom was like warning me about people doing witchcraft on me, you know? It's like a form of like projection, right? She's projecting what she's, you know, what she's doing onto other people, right? So when I addressed my mom about these dolls, right, she blamed her ex-boyfriend, right, which was not true. I knew, you know, and she always told me things that she thought about me, she told me that her ex-boyfriend thought about me, right? When in reality, me and her ex-boyfriend, he was a lot younger. He was like half her age, right? We got along really well, and I felt sorry for the guy, you know, and we even ran together. You know, he was an athlete, and I did long distance at the time, you know, so we even ran together. So I felt really bad for the guy. Eventually he left her, and I was very happy that he was able to get away, you know. But anyways, but yeah, she always kind of projected what she felt about me onto him, you know, and I knew it wasn't true. Anyway, so she blamed him for doing witchcraft on me, right? And when I discovered this, guys, it was like in a movie. It was so strange. It was like, are you kidding me? What is this? You know, I didn't really necessarily believe in any of this stuff, right? And so you know, I just like went to her backyard. I like burned the dolls. You know, I prayed over them, and that's it. It was so strange. Like, I couldn't believe what I found. It was like being in a horror movie, to be honest with you, you know. So you guys, the demons in my mom hated me, absolutely hated me with a passion, you know. When I was at home, I remember her throwing knives this big at me while I was running up the stairs, you know, and that was like right before I got out of my house, you know. Yeah, it was, I think I got out of my house at like 15 or 16, I don't know, right? I was still in high school. I think it was like my last year of high school, so I might have been 17, right? So anyways, but I was very young, right? I was still in high school. And I just remember thinking, okay, I'm going to just go insane, okay, or I'm gonna leave, okay? So I'm just gonna, you know, either I'm going to keep my peace, or I'm just gonna leave, right? So I just decided to leave. You know, I packed all of my stuff. I remember collecting all of my stuff into my garbage bags, right? Basically, I took some garbage bags, I put all of my stuff in there. I put it into my car, right, that I got when I was 15. And I left. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I didn't have a place to go to, you know, and I just kind of stepped into the unknown, you know, and I left the hellish house that I was living in, right? My mom almost killed me, guys, okay, by throwing knives at me while I was running up the stairs. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, you know, but like I said, there was the demon in her that couldn't stand my light. It couldn't stand, even when I was demonically oppressed, I still had good intentions. I still had a good heart, right? I was still striving to be good. I was still striving to do the right thing, right? It was just kind of like inherent in me. It was ingrained into me, into my being, right? So even though I made a lot of mistakes, right? And I will talk about those mistakes, guys, a little bit later on in other videos, right? But anyways, this video is more about narcissists, right? And the fact that when they do become possessed, they don't know what the heck they're doing. You know, it's like a host. It's like a host, like they're being driven by someone else, and they're not conscious of it. Basically, okay. This is exactly what happens. They don't know what the heck they're doing, so they become like someone else, you know. And sometimes it can seem, in psychology, right, it can seem like they have multiple personalities, right? It can seem like they have some kind of a disorder, a mind disorder, but it's not, guys. It's much, much deeper than that. Psychology, I believe, only just kind of looks on the surface, you know. They're not looking at the entire aspect of a human being, right? They're not looking at the spiritual side of things, okay? They take the spiritual side out, which is a huge problem with psychology, okay, I guess, guys. Okay, so it's really limiting, you know. It looks, psychology looks at things in a 3D, right? They're just considering the physicality, right? They're focused on the mind, right? And the body, right? And so on. So that's really limiting, guys, right? So because we are spiritual beings, right? Especially when we're connected to our emotions, right? And guys, a lot of us are disconnected from our emotions, right? Which is a big problem, especially in the long run, okay? I believe in the long run, this can lead to possession, okay? So guys, be careful, be aware of this, right? Be aware of the fact that, you know, you can become possessed, okay? If you continue living in sin, if you continue, you know, buying your negative thoughts, if you continue spiraling down and self-destructing, right? And in turn, destructing other people too, right? So guys, like hurt people, right? When we are hurting, we tend to lash out. Oftentimes we're unconscious of our behavior, right? So yeah, right, guys. So anyway, so narcissists, right? They're, like I said, they're very, very hurt people. They're basically empty vessels, right? That have been through a lot of trauma and that eventually become possessed. And that demon, they hate the narcissist too, okay? They hate the narcissist, they hate the person that they occupied, right? And they're going to eventually use the narc spiritually, right, in order to get to the chosen one, the earth angels, right, the people that are good, right. They're going to try to dim the light, whichever light that they see, they're going to try to dim it, right? So they're going to try to squish anything that is good, right? And so the demon will try to get to the light bearers, right, through the narcissist, right, who is just a vessel that is being used, right? And this vessel, when the demon is done with them, right, when I completely cut my mom out of my life, right, in a little while, guys, she was killed, okay? She was killed, you know, and I don't know. This is making me like very emotional. Anyways, you know, despite all the bad things that she put me through, you know, I wish I could have done more, you know. I wish I understood more so I could have helped her, you know. I wish I could have freed her, you know. I wish I tried to free her. I wish I understood, you know. But unfortunately I didn't, you know. And so yeah, you know, in many ways, you know, the person behind the demon, you know, the person behind, you know, the person that's being driven by the demonic, right, is still out there somewhere, right? She was still out there somewhere, and there were, and that's what the empath will also recognize, right, when they're in a relationship with this person, is that sometimes they will see the glimpses of this person who used to be there, right, before the possession. And that's the part that will keep them in that, you know, relationship with that person, is that human part that was still there, you know, that hurt little girl or that hurt little boy, right? And so, you know, sometimes I saw the glimpses of that in my mom, you know, and it's really, you know, it's really sad. It's it's just very sad what happened to her, you know. And so like I said, guys, you know, I believe, you know, these people, the narcs, they will eventually also be driven to their death, okay? So yeah, guys, be careful, okay? Be careful out there, and you know, take care of yourself, and just forgive, you know, forgive the narc, because the psychopaths, the narcissists, like I said, they're not the person, they're not the human person who is a kind and a loving spirit. You know, they're an empty vessel that is driven by the demon that took possession of them, and the people that, you know, what you see basically is not what it really is. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.